We know that Britain and France, Canada, Australia, New Zealand and Japan have all said that they would make significant contributions of soldiers or forces on the ground. Many other countries have said they might do that, but they would wait to see what the mission is first. And other countries have said, well, they certainly won't put troops on the ground, but they would look at other ways of helping the force. So it may be that this coalition of the willing will involve perhaps more than 30 countries, but it comes down to a core of how many troops can you get from those countries who are prepared to put their forces in harm's way in a very controversial operation that so far has not even reached square one, let alone taken off from square one. The thing that Ukraine needs most from all of its allies is some sort of security, so that if there is a ceasefire, if there's a truce, that it holds and that there's some way of enforcing it. Now that might be achieved in different ways, but none of them are risk-free. So at the moment, Ukraine is saying we must have security guarantees. The ones it really wants are from the United States, which the US says it won't offer. But if the United States won't offer it, then Ukraine has no choice but to say, well, who else can offer us something like a security guarantee? And that's really is what is at issue. Can the other countries put together a force which would be sufficiently strong and sufficiently determined to enforce a peace deal against possible Russian action that would quite likely bring it into conflict? Without the US backing them up, very few countries are prepared to take that risk. The thing that the Ukrainians probably need most is the $200 billion worth of Russian frozen assets in Europe, which could be transferred to them simply to give them a cash boost so that they could spend more money on their own military and buying equipment and weapons from around the world. Even that wouldn't be an instant answer, but it would give them some sort of long-term stability to go out on a spending spree on their military and also governmental functions that would give them some security for the mid-term future. But it won't help them in the next 3 or 4 months, but it might help them toward the end of the year and into next year. But what it requires is for the Europeans to be prepared simply to hand that money over. And that's a very controversial decision for all sorts of legal and practical reasons. It's not impossible. There's a good legal reason for doing it, but it's not beyond challenge. And the challenges, I think, would be fairly ferocious. If we're talking about a peacekeeping force, then they would logically have to be all the way along the frontier, the new frontier between Russia and Ukraine. And that frontier is 1,200 kilometers long, about 800 miles. That's a very, very long peacekeeping frontier, by far the longest in the world, the longest in history. And it would take 300,000 troops to be available to have 100,000 or more somewhere along that line. That's not practical. And so the alternative to that is that instead of having troops all the way along the line, that you monitor the line remotely by satellite surveillance, by drones, by electronic monitoring and sensors, and you have a smaller set of forces able to turn up quickly to any points of conflict wherever the line is being breached. That's plausible if the forces that are there to enforce it are big enough, but we haven't really got to that point yet.